Hey, wonderful. So, welcome everybody. I'm so happy to get to offer this. Today's going to be a session where you're going to get to learn about self-hypnosis, hypnosis, the history, the origins, some of the ways that it came about, some of the controversy, but most of all, being able to jump in and learn the technique that can just be so phenomenally beneficial and life-changing. I mean, the fact that you're here, I know some of you have already experienced hypnosis before, but self-hypnosis is really its own method unto itself, and it can be such a rewarding personal practice to get to um, basically learn how to draw on the power of our own mind. And I'm going to talk about some of the nuts and bolts about how this actually is not like a magical kind of phenomena. It's actually based on things that we understand about behavior and conditioning and things that have been drawn upon. So anyway, I'm going to go into all that. And so some of the reasons why people might seek out something like self-hypnosis would be things like managing stress and anxiety, performance and productivity, personal development, self-improvement, and it can tie in with things like being able to support well-being related to even chronic health issues. But it's not a medical treatment, so we never look at hypnosis as being a medical treatment. And this is where, as a practitioner, you get um, to try things out. Like if you're trying to manage chronic pain, you get to try different things. And I think you're going to be quite empowered when we're finished here to know that, wow, there's actually some things that you can put together. And, you know, as a trained hypnotist, I learn more and more all the time about how many techniques there are out there. So you can continue to build on what you know. And yeah, it's remarkable. Somebody else in? Okay. So, my exposure to all this goes back a long time ago. Some of you already know that my mom used hypnosis for pain control when she gave birth to me. So I'd apparently had some hypnosis sessions while I was still in the womb. It was pretty cool. But my dad was really into it. And another term for hypnosis is autosuggestion. And I remember we had a book on our family bookshelf called Autosuggestion. And I never knew what that was. And I actually had some training in self-hypnosis when I was in high school, but I didn't become, trained in hypnosis professionally until much later on. So um, I came to it largely because I had some health issues that got some immense relief from very quickly, and I was so impressed that I became passionate about wanting to bring it into the world and share it with more people. So I have been working on a manual that will go with this workshop. So I started out with making a handout that then turned into a workbook that then turned into a manual. So I'm going to put some finishing touches on that and send it out to you guys probably tomorrow, along with the replay of this for, if you want to rewatch it or share it with others. So, my hope is that after this evening, you're going to know enough that, picture yourself at a cocktail party or some block party or something sometime, and just imagine that you can share about, your own experiences and some of the history of hypnosis and how it works. And, I'd like for you to have a fair amount of understanding so that in a kind of simple way, you're going to be able to talk about those things without, the mystique that tends to surround us with it. So all hypnosis is technically self-hypnosis. There's a lot about the way that we participate in the process that even if you're seeing a hypnotherapist and they're guiding you through a process, it's all still completely voluntary. There's never a time that people are unconscious unless they're under anesthesia, where we almost turn people into objects for a while and then bring them back. Phenomenal that we understand anesthesia. But the conscious and the unconscious mind are always working together, and you're always in full control. So, what you learn in self-hypnosis, very similar to what we do in the kind of hypnotherapy sessions where you might go into deeper levels of what we call trance, because it's kind of, kind of like trying to drive and read at the same time or something like that. I don't want to mix my metaphors, but to be able to kind of work with things like, performance and habits and personal development and self-improvement, that's all in the realm of self-hypnosis. So I think you'll be happy to learn kind of how much possibility there is. And I'm going to be giving you step-by-step instructions and some different specific ideas for how you might, kind of start off, jump off point for yourself. So what is hypnosis? So hypnosis is a state of focused attention and heightened suggestibility and relaxation. So it's this combination of qualities or states that come together that allow us to tap into um, almost like I think of the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, being able to communicate with this part of ourselves that otherwise is more accessible to us, like when we're dreaming, like the states of rich, vivid imagery, or, when we're daydreaming, or just a lot related to imagination and creativity. Um, but so focused attention, I'll go into more specifics about the kind of the root, the kind of the biology in a sense with it. But first, I just tell you a little bit about the history. So it goes way back into, like, I think the earliest documentation of it is in ancient Greece and Egypt. In fact, Hypnos was the Greek god of sleep. So that's interesting. Hypnosis, hypnotherapy. And when it was mainly used for like spiritual rituals and healing. There were these dream temples in Egypt where I'm not sure exactly what they did in there, but kind of noted as part of the history of hypnosis. But then in the 18th and 19th centuries, it entered the mainstream, and you may have heard that term mesmerized. Mesmer, there was a guy named Anton Mesmer who believed that he could influence he believed we had a kind of magnetic energy in our bodies that could be manipulated, and that he had the powers to manipulate this energy by passing his hands along people's bodies. And he was essentially putting them into a trance state. And he was eventually discredited. Benjamin Franklin was one of the people involved, and I guess he went to France or wherever and examined him, and they decided that he wasn't legitimate that way. But it caught people's attention. They could tell that something was happening, and there was a surgeon in Scotland named James Baird, or James Braid, and he proposed that it was a form of psychological phenomena. So people started to get really curious about how it could be brought into therapeutic realm. And there's always controversy. There's this one where this guy named Jean-Martin Charcot, he's apparently the first neurosurgeon, and he was one of these people who, I don't know if he came up with the concept, but there was that condition they called hysteria, where he said that you could only be hypnotized, or he somehow put hypnosis and hysteria together. And there was another guy named Bernheim who actually he said that hysteria was produced by suggestion. So suggestion being, key in hypnosis. So anyway, it evolved this way. There was a surgeon named Esdale in India, and this was before the days of the anesthesia that we have now, and he would successfully use hypnosis for anesthesia, and it's actually still used now as anesthesia. And I know of hypnotists that have been doing it for so long, they have so much confidence, that I know somebody who recently had a root canal with hypnosis, doing self-hypnosis for herself. So it's possible. And they actually found that they had better outcomes at the time with the hypnosis for anesthesia than they did with whatever the alternative was, which was nothing. So, but they actually had like people dying from fear related to doing surgeries, and things like that. So it was really kind of a big deal. And then, of course, it got brought into the therapeutic setting. Freud was kind of a fan of it until he kind of moved on to, be more interested in kind of free association, kind of talk therapy stuff. But there was a French pharmacist who popularized what they call at the time autosuggestion. So, and he got into basically what we're calling self-hypnosis now, because all the other hypnotists were saying that people basically had to go to sleep in order to have the effect. And he's like, no, people don't need to kind of go out like that. That's not necessary at all. And a lot of people don't. So, let's see what we can work with here. And so he developed this auto-suggestion with these self-affirmations. There's actually a lot of, if you were to Google the science of self-hypnosis, you'll find a lot of studies out there. I mean, it's been looked at for a long time. I've been really impressed by how much study there has been on this, especially considering, how in many ways meditation research has just been getting off the ground in the last, 10 or 20 years. So it's pretty fascinating if you're interested in that stuff. But so, what is the unconscious mind? What is it that we're tapping into here? So the unconscious is like the reservoir of thoughts, feelings, things like memories that are all underneath the level of conscious awareness. So it could be things like the defense mechanisms we have, certain habits and routines that we just don't draw on consciously, and I just got distracted. I thought there was a noise. If you think it could be serious, ask me to call emergency services or someone you trust. Hang on, let me just see what that is. It's my Siri thought I was talking to her, so my iPad there. Okay. So the unconscious mind, things like defense mechanisms, emotion regulation, automatic processes. So self-hypnosis is sort of like being able to install a software upgrade to the mind. Very interesting how that stuff's there. So some of the examples of how we might see unconscious behavior in our life would be like an emotional response to a movie, where you're just watching, and you may have even watched movies before where people are there crying, going, I don't usually cry at these things, or, I can just remember situations like that with my dad. He was a very unemotional person, and he'd like be tearing up at certain movies. And anyway, so that's an unconscious emotional response. Um, Very interesting to look at it in social interactions, like with implicit bias related to race and gender, and we see it all the time now with, of course, politics, although that's nothing new. But so the way that we might make assumptions without any kind of conscious intent, where it's there, it's running beneath the surface. And these things can really impact our lives. And when you bring it into the realm of like personal development, we have this kind of thing happening for ourselves all the time too, around like self-beliefs, you know, just even some very little fears that we might take for granted, that aren't necessarily really big things, but maybe um, we get nervous in certain situations and we can't really say why. Other people aren't, and yet, so there's something there running under the surface. And of course, we can find reasons for these things too, right? But at the same time, it's just that there's so much that's going on that isn't always like right at the top of our. It's not immediately accessible. So, see if I skipping anything particularly limiting. So, one of the biggest myths, it's that it could be a form of mind control, that people could be manipulated through hypnosis. And some of the examples of that would be, people who've seen a stage show where, the hypnotist that's on stage will have a performance where he brings all these people up on stage and they start doing really silly things. And it's like there's such actually an art form to their doing that. I remember when I was getting trained and they showed us a video where they broke down like what the hypnotist was doing to kind of pull the people in who would be the exact right kind of people who would want to dance around like a chicken or, do something silly. I mean, think about it. If you're in a big, hall and they're asking for volunteers to come up and be a hypnotized subject, who's going to raise their hand? It wouldn't be me. I'd be like sitting on my hand going, don't look at me. I don't want to go up there. So anyway, it's not that at all. In fact, if anything, we have more control as we start to learn how to navigate this terrain, or even to even know that sometimes we have unconscious processes going on. Like, I guess, maybe that's outside of my awareness. I wonder if I could do something about that. There's all kinds of different examples of that I'm sure we could come up with. So, um, I thought I'd share something related to an example of how the fact that it was used or has been used in stage hypnosis has actually been a really important and significant uh, reason why it's become more formally adopted in healthcare. And there's an example, there's one of the hypnotists of the 20th century, Dave Ellman, who was a vaudeville hypnotist. He, as a child, his father was dying of cancer and he was in such tremendous pain, and none of the medicine that was being given to him was helping with the pain. And a family friend was a stage hypnotist, and he came and he did hypnosis for him, and he was able to have relief from the pain so that his last days were peaceful. And it made such a strong impression on young Dave that as he developed, he started learning, got all the books from the library and started to learn the different hypnosis skills. And eventually went on to be a vaudeville performer and became so good at being able to get people into a trance state very quickly and successfully that after one of his shows, some doctors came up to him and said, "Hey, we're trying to use this with our patients, but we're not as we don't succeed the way that you do. We can't do it as quickly. We don't have that much time with our patients. Would you teach us?" And he said, "I don't know anything about medicine." And he said, "Well, that's okay. We do. We just need you to teach us your methods." So Dave Ellman came up with, he definitely, great resource for people. And he trained so many people that now they have a conference every year. I got to attend it the last couple years, where all these hypnotists who were profoundly influenced by him come and speak. And there's this very specific kind of hypnotic induction, which I'll talk about in a minute. Hypnotic induction that is used, and it's one of the best ones to use. And we're going to even learn a modified version of that for self-hypnosis. So Dave Ellman is phenomenal, and I've been really happy to get to train with his son, who did turn out to be a rocket scientist. I like to say hypnosis isn't rocket science. It's not like learning, rocket science. Well, his son actually did become a rocket scientist and then later swung back around because people were like, "Wait, you studied with your dad? Can you teach us?" So he kind of reluctantly got brought in to be a trainer. And he and his wife are both amazing. So, in fact, I'm going to share this. I think it's kind of neat. It ties in with this, with the all hypnosis and self-hypnosis. So this is Dave Ellman. He wrote, I've been teaching hypnosis to medical men for years and have found that many of them seem to think that they can become expert hypnotists after a few classroom and practice sessions. Since there really is no such thing as a hypnotist, this is obviously impossible. As a practitioner employing this tool, all you can ever do is show a patient how to go over the hurdle from a normal waking or sleeping state into the peculiar state of mind known as hypnosis. You won't hypnotize him, she will hypnotize himself. This means that those of us using suggestion wield no power over any subject. It means there's nothing I do that you can't learn to do in hypnosis. So that's the truth. And he said that he thinks that it would be better to call us dream pilots. So I think that's pretty cute. But when you think about it, that's sort of like what we're doing is we're getting into this state that's pretty much like a daydream. And it's nice when you have somebody who's helping guide it, because that allows you to settle in and go even deeper. But you can be your own dream pilot, and get into this state. I'll talk about what a trance state is. So we use the term trance related to hypnosis, which is really a state of heightened suggestibility, relaxation, focused attention. And one of the lightest stages of trance that we might experience is, you may have heard of something called highway hypnosis, where, the times you may have had this experience driving on the highway, maybe it's a route you take regularly, or maybe you're tired or something, and you suddenly realize you don't remember the last however many miles. I remember I once had this happen to me when I was driving a certain route on a regular basis, and I drove all the way home, like from Roseville to Davis. And I almost like came to in the middle of the drive, and I'm like, where am I? I mean, I know I was in the car and everything, but I was like, I couldn't even place where I was on the freeway. Has anybody ever happened that to them? It's kind of a trippy thing to have happen. So that's actually a light state of trance. And daydreaming. Sometimes I think it's funny because in mindfulness we use mindfulness training. We tend to use autopilot as being the opposite of mindfulness. Well, here we're actually drawing on the power and the potential of autopilot to benefit us. So it's actually kind of um, an awesome quality or skill to be able to draw on. So, my hope in general is that we can just become able to trust ourselves more and more in our abilities to navigate in this realm. And, it takes some practice, but it's also um, not something that is going to take a long time to learn. And I'm planning to guide everybody through a session here tonight where I'll I'll tell you all the elements of what I'm including, and then you'll get to experience it. And then I'll go through and we can talk about how you would fine tune it for yourself. So that's going to be fun. So, trance and the state of heightened suggestibility, it's not a magical phenomena, and it's actually something that we might even notice in daily life. So there's still so much that we haven't been able to study, with things like MRI machines. I mean, the information that we get about hypnosis that comes through going through an MRI might be similar to what we're seeing with meditation. Meditation also uses focused attention. And so they're still trying to understand things on the level of, brain physiology and networks and stuff like that. But we do have a lot of knowledge of behavioral phenomena like classical conditioning. So It's interesting how, have you guys ever heard of Ivan Pavlov, Pavlov's dogs, where Pavlov would ring a bell and the dog would salivate and he'd give it a treat. Ring a bell, dog salivates, gives it a treat. Then he would just ring the bell and in anticipation, the dog would salivate, even if he didn't get a treat. So there's a stimuli and a learned response that when you have a meaningful stimulus that you want. So with hypnosis, it's important that it's aligned with something that you want, or it won't work. But so you can have this same experience where there's a stimulus, a response, and it's like when we're going through the hypnosis induction, there's going to be a period, or I'll guide you through this, where you start to notice things that kind of confirm that you're entering into this altered state. And then as you get these confirmations, like as you're like the getting the treat, ringing the bell, getting the treat, then you just insert that positive suggestion or affirmation that you want, or you could use visual imagery and things like that as well, and it goes in. It's really very, very natural, and it shows how we're actually building a skill to be able to create the right environment where our mind will then accept the new suggestion to be able to, integrate and use in order to affect our behavioral or our experience. So this thing we call the trance induction is a critical stage in hypnosis and self-hypnosis. And it's being able to kind of condition our mind to accept the suggestion that's aligned with our positive goals and objectives. So those are kind of key. And of course, deeper stages of trance, are definitely accessible through, often support with a hypnotherapist, but you don't necessarily need the super deep levels of trance for a successful hypnotherapy session, which is really kind of interesting. Like you may have this idea that hypnosis is like where people are kind of like, look like they're asleep or something like that. But you can actually be quite interactive in these states. You can go in and out of them. If I had somebody that looked almost like they were asleep and I said, okay, open your eyes, they'd open their eyes. It's like there's still so much consciousness that is part of that trance state. It's very interesting. Okay, so I'll kind of tell you what these different stages are in kind of what we call an induction. And I don't really like the terminology they use because it sounds so, I don't know, clinical, or like clinical from the 18th century kind of thing. I mean, things haven't been updated very much. But so what we'll often do is first create a state of relaxation, but we'll create a state of relaxation in a certain type of way where you're not just relaxed, but you're helping the mind to be able to kind of uncouple itself from being completely engaged with kind of the experience of, just kind of life happening around you. Like my office downtown Davis tends to be, it's right on the street corner, it can be kind of noisy. And it's like all that sort of falls away. Even when the noises register, it's just you're starting to enter into this deeper and deeper state of kind of focused attention combined with relaxation. There's a stage they call the cataleptic state. Cataleptic meaning all muscles or muscles in the body just start to be loose and limp. So just like sometimes there's a feeling of heaviness or floating. There's a neat phenomena that sometimes we work with, and I'll teach you how to use this today in this modified Dave Ellman induction, which we call eye lock. Let in somebody. And it's pretty neat. Then there's the hallucinatory stage. And this is just where there's very things can become very vivid in the mind. Like if there's visual imagery, it can become even so vivid that it's like you're living it. It's and people, not everybody has the super strong visual imagery skills, so it's fine. You can even draw on kind of imagining how you would feel, or kind of being part of a scene where you kind of make the imagery just extremely vivid. Imagery is not the exact word, the experience more vivid. And in fact, when we use the term imagination, imagination is totally awesome. Like if you could imagine yourself into a certain state, that's manipulating consciousness. That's it's not like, well, I think I was, I did the hypnosis, but I think I was just imagining it. It's like, yeah, you were imagining it. That was your mind. That's cool. That's really good. It's like if we could imagine ourselves into a state of well-being that then, is able to be reinforced and predictably sustained. That's pretty cool. Or imagine our way into releasing a bad habit or something. I think imagination is underrated. So let's see. So some of the ways that self-hypnosis is commonly used, as I've mentioned, changing habits, but facilitating behavior change, beliefs and motivation, reframing beliefs, increasing our sense of resilience through that way. Um, Classically, what we call post-hypnotic suggestions are like positive affirmations, maybe combined with visualization. These can be used to boost self-esteem and confidence. There's like this reservoir of positive beliefs that we have. Even if we don't relate to all of them personally, they're still there. And all we need to do is be able to tap into that and make it more vivid, kind of really um, have a heightened experience of it, and it can start to be kind of introduced as kind of part of our working, more conscious skill set. So we can reprogram self-talk, limiting beliefs, using empowering affirmations and mental imagery to, in place of kind of the more negative ones we might have. Succeeding in goals, reinforcing a sense of competence, resilience, self-worth. And I don't know, just even talking about these kinds of things, I sort of feel a little bit of a physical or emotional boost just to think about, the potential for, um, having, some unhealthy patterns or patterns that are, working against me to, to, to feel better. I have to laugh a little bit at the moment because right now, I'm recording this, and when we first started getting into doing things virtually like this, if I had to record a class, I just felt frozen inside. I like avoided doing this kind of thing, and really quite basically kind of like stage fright. And it wasn't being on Zoom or on camera, it was about recording myself doing it. So I had a fellow hypnotist do a session for me, and it completely went away. And it's almost like a distant memory now or something like that. And I'll tell you, that wasn't even like the most mind-blowing hypnosis session. It was like really basic. So I've been really impressed with how even hypnosis sessions, and self-hypnosis is true this way, I would imagine as well. It doesn't have to be this like mind-blowingly um, profound experience for it to work. It's, yeah, it's remarkable. So let's see. Okay, what do I want to do? Okay, so I'm going to kind of just kind of walk you through the different elements of what a self-hypnosis experience might be like, and then we'll take a 5 minute break, and then have come back and do a uh, guided process with that, and then I'll do some troubleshooting, or go through some of the questions that you might have about how to work with different types of issues you have. But you may have some things clarified just right now as I go through some of these steps. So, uh, so the first thing that you want to do is get clear about what it is that you want. So really clarify your intention, what your need is for, like, let's say I want to release my fear of uh, being recorded, so then I would like have a sense of like, okay, I want to do that. It's meaningful to me. I know that it would be a benefit. I could even visualize myself like, wow, life would be so much easier if I wasn't, kind of having to manage that. So clarify your intention, frame it in positive language, and I'll give you some more examples of that. Then you will, if you choose to do this on your own, engage in what we call a trance induction, which tends to be a combination of techniques. You could keep it really simple, especially like after doing a session here as a guided process with me. It can be as simple as breathing and with each exhale, just saying to yourself, relax. Maybe imagining yourself walking downstairs, but just beginning to slow down, turn inward, start getting into this state of relaxation where you recognize, okay, my body is starting to relax. Okay, now I'm noticing myself, noticing different features of that. And then you start to introduce what we call the post-hypnotic suggestions. And after you spend some time with them, you emerge from the trance when you're ready. Usually we do that by counting from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, whatever your preference. So I'm going to show you some examples of some of these affirmations, and I bet you are familiar with them. Let's see, share screen. This is from this manual that I started making for you guys. So, self-hypnosis suggestions. So, for changing habits, you could shorten them. I think shorter is better, but like, I no longer feel the urge to bite my nails, or see if I can find a nice one. I let go of self-doubt and embrace my inner strength. I'm the architect of my reality. Uh, I wake feeling refreshed and rejuvenated in the morning. Um, my body is healing and thriving. I mean, I've taken some of these as from elsewhere, but like this one, I'm grateful for my body's innate ability to heal and thrive. I personally would say something like, my body is healing and thriving, just to keep it really simple. Um, I embrace joyful self-care. Uh, I'm compassionate with myself when I feel stressed. I like this one. I'm a magnet for vibrant health and vitality. I'm aligned with the natural rhythms of life. I really like these promoting health and well-being ones. Reframing beliefs. I'm worthy of love and acceptance. Uh, I let go. I think I would prefer I release. I think I'm going to update that in here. I release self-doubt and embrace my inner strength. I'm resilient and adaptable. If there's a lot of discomfort in the body, like let's say we're having, difficult time physically for health reasons, then to think of the state you would like to have. Like, I'm filled with a sense of lightness and ease, or, like to increase a positive rather than try to like tamp out something that you'd rather not be feeling. Like, my entire body is infused with a sense of well-being, something like that. So, so I think you're probably getting the idea, and I'll have this for you when I kind of tidy up some things about it. And there can be different things that you do that will, sort of supercharge the affirmations, and that would be adding the visual or kinesthetic or auditory. So, like picturing yourself feeling the way that you'd like to be feeling, or just imagining auditory cues. You could even play music while you're doing the hypnosis if there's something that kind of helps you to feel the way that you'd like to be feeling. Um, yeah, so really enriching the affirmations with sensory imagery. I think that this can really make a huge difference with self-hypnosis. So it's not just the words, which in some ways is like an auditory experience. And you may know that there's a John Lennon song where he actually uses the language, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. You remember that one? Yeah. So I think he actually was using some of the language from that French pharmacist who came up with the auto-suggestion, when self-hypnosis was just getting started to be used. So clarify your intention, frame intentions in positive language, to do a trance induction, which is basically like a relaxation where you can start to get in this state of a kind of focused, um, focused relaxation. And then keep an open mind. Just, you'll start to develop this trust in what we call the subconscious to accept and internalize these suggestions. So it really does take, entering into that state and kind of growing your confidence, and then also, repeating and reinforcing them. So yeah, and then, if you do this regularly or you're trying to address a certain issue, you might want to reflect on it afterwards, take some notes, you know, make adjustments, but just to even reflect can be a tremendously nourishing kind of thing we do for ourselves too. And you can even create a ritual around it to, like, light a candle, or do something for yourself, burn incense, or do things that make it special for you. I think it adds even more meaning and kind of potency to it, that some part of us really gets on board with um, with kind of imbuing the whole experience with more intention in a way. So those are some of the basics about kind of going into the trance state. And I think it'll make even more sense after I guide you through it, and then I'll be able to point out some of these different elements. And um, it might be helpful. Well, let me think about this during the 5 minute bathroom break. So let's take a 5 minute break right now. And if you guys just are going to hang out, then that's fine. But let's 6:49. So let's be ready to start again at 5 to 7. So that's 6 minutes. All right. Welcome back. So we'll get started. So I'm going to show my screen and show you where this will be in the workbook so that you can see what I'm drawing from. So there's a section here, induce your trance state before starting. Repeat your suggestion. Induce a trance state to access the subconscious mind. Trance is a combination of relaxation and focused attention. So we're going into one of the very lightest states of trance. So some of the different ways you can do this is with like a progressive muscle relaxation, or we're going to what I call the modified Dave Ellman induction that I'll guide you through. And then visualization techniques, like you can imagine descending a staircase, counting from 10 down to 1 with each step. That's a common number to count with, is 10 to 1 or 1 to 10. And breathing exercises. So when you start to get into that state, then kind of stabilize it with breathing. Let yourself just stay with your breathing. It could be a really good way to stay connected to you, connected to yourself, and really just stay kind of immersed in that state. So for being able to have a kind of a common, like, suggestion here that we could work with for this, I was wondering what would be a good general one. And I came up with something. This is kind of tricky to come up with something that works for everybody, but I'm wondering if everybody could relate to this one enough to use this. So the aphorism or the affirmation is, my mistake is becoming a learning opportunity. Do you guys like that one? I like that one. um, let's see, there's some others here that are nice ones. My challenges are the paths for growth. Uh, joy and calm are filling my body. Or calm is filling my body. Um, Going into what seems right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to invite you to remember a time when you just felt awesome. A time when you just felt awesome. And then to increase it, to like make it even more vivid. Just imagine how awesome it was, that vividness of the experience of that feeling. And um, And then the suggestion will be, this feeling will stay with me for the rest of the day. Does that sound good? Would you like to feel awesome for the rest of the day? Okay. Okay. Um, all right. So, so we've come up with that clear intention, and just keep in mind, if that doesn't work well for you, then all of this is voluntary. You don't have to do it. Um, so let's just transition. Just close your eyes. And I personally like to start like this. So just close your eyes and just tune into your body and notice in what way you may be carrying some physical tension. And then imagine that with an inhale, that the in-breath can hook that physical tension and it can just ride out on the exhale. And now tuning in and noticing in what way you may be carrying some emotional tension. Emotional tension, whatever that means for you. And the breath on an inhale can hook that emotional tension so it can just ride out on the exhale. Now tune in and notice in what way there may be a sense of mental tension. Again, whatever that means for you, mental tension. And on an in-breath, the breath can hook that mental tension, can ride out on the exhale. And you just enjoy whatever extra space you've reclaimed for yourself just with these relaxing breaths. Go ahead and open your eyes and bring your gaze up above you. So, like looking towards the ceiling, the top of the wall. Just bring the gaze upwards and just keep gazing until you feel your eyelids starting to get heavier. Just feeling the eyelids start to get heavier, the muscles around the eyes are starting to fatigue. It's okay if you blink. And then take a nice deep breath, and then with the exhale, just let the eyelids close down. Nice deep breath. Exhaling, letting the eyelids close. And let those eye muscles become so relaxed that as long as you hold on to that quality of relaxation that's there, they're so relaxed that they just won't work. And when they're so relaxed, when you're sure they're so relaxed that they just won't work, you can prove to yourself how relaxed they are. And they just won't work. Now take that same quality of relaxation that's there in the eyes. Just imagine sending it from the top of the head down through the soles of your feet like a wave. Just a comforting wave of relaxation and ease flowing around you, down through your body, alongside of you, enveloping you. As you drop into this drifty state of ease. And imagine, if you will, that you're standing at the top of a staircase. This is a staircase that one might say leads to where all change is possible. And just imagine that in your arms you're holding a container full of colored pens or pencils or markers or crayons. And here in your mind's eye, you write the number 10. And then you take the first step down the staircase. It's leading to where all change is possible. Then you erase the 10 and you choose a new color and you write 9. Then you erase the 9 and you take the next step down and go deeper, relax. Now, you choose a new color, a different color, and you write 8. And you take the next step down the staircase and go deeper, relaxed, as you erase the 8. You choose a new color and you write 7. And you take the next step down and go deeper, relaxed. Now, erasing the 7. You choose a new color and you write 6. And you take the next step down. Go deeper, relaxed. Still. Erasing the 6. And choose a new color. And you write 5. And you take the next step down. Deeper, relaxed. Now. And choose a new color, different color. And you write 4. And then erasing the 4, you take the next step down and go deeper, relaxed. And choose a new color and you write 3. And erasing the 3, you take the next step down and go deeper, relaxed. Choose a new color, a different color. And you write 2. Erasing the 2. And take the next step down. And go deeper, relaxed. And choose a new color. And you write 1. You take the next step down, erasing the 1. And you've reached the bottom of the staircase that's led to where all change is possible. You can just rest, settling deeper and deeper and deeper, staying with the breath with each exhale, saying to yourself, relax in your mind, relax, relax, and relax. Just enjoy this state, this place that you've come to in your own powerful mind. Call to mind now a time that you just felt awesome, a time you felt wonderful. Bringing this to mind, it might be very recent, it might have been a long time ago, way back. And to the best of your abilities, bringing in whatever you can of the visual imagery of this time, where you were at the time, what it felt like to be you. Maybe you can remember the clothing you were wearing, kind of weather that was happening, the place, the sounds, even if it's just the sounds in your own head thinking, this is great, or whatever your thoughts may have been at the time. Make it even more vivid. Just feeling it now. And you can access it here in this state we call trance. And sometimes we're aware of trance, and sometimes trance is just a difference in our awareness. Make it even more wonderful. Just really increase the vividness of that experience, as though you were in that just right now, just reliving that. The sensations in your body, your mind, feeling the kind of wonderful feelings that were present, or maybe it was a sense of ease, well-being, excitement, joy. Now you can anchor this feeling. You're taking your thumb and forefinger together on either hand and just squeezing them really tight while staying with that feeling of feeling awesome, feeling so good. Just anchor it by squeezing together your fingers. Now repeating inwardly, I will feel awesome like this for the rest of the day. I am feeling awesome, and I'm going to feel awesome like this for the rest of the day. If you'd like to rephrase that somehow, you're welcome to. Just repeating it inwardly in a way that feels right to you. Again, inviting that imagery, the memory, and continue to make it as vivid as you're able. It's all happening now. Enjoying it unfold. Even picturing yourself today, later this evening, and just picture yourself doing the things that you'd normally be doing and just feeling wonderful. Use your wonderful imagination, maybe picturing yourself even all the way to getting ready for bed tonight and just feeling wonderful. Getting into bed tonight and just even as you drift off, feeling wonderful. It's through the power of your imagination, you can draw on the power of your unconscious mind and make it happen. So shortly it'll be time to come back from this journey, and I'll count from 1 to 10. And with each increasing number, you'll become 1/10 more alert and integrated. When I reach the number 9, you'll be just beginning to come out and open your eyes. And when I reach the number 10, you'll just open your eyes and come back out fully refreshed and invigorated and feeling wonderful. 1, 2, 3, 4, coming back. 5, feeling more and more wonderful. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. When you're ready, just make your way back out of the state, a slight state of trance. So, in case you're wondering what might happen if you fall asleep, not a problem. You just wake up normally the way you always would. Sometimes people wonder what would happen, like if a person was in trance and like what something happened to the hypnotherapist or whatever. It's like, yeah, you just fall asleep and come out of it, or don't fall asleep and come out of it. So it's a pretty natural state. It's not like we've been literally, under anesthesia or something. So I'm wondering, since you all, made time in your schedule to come here this evening and, uh, give yourself this time. A lot of times people come because they're wanting to address something that they have happening in their life. And I thought we could use the chat to, if you have any questions about, phrases, or maybe just say what it is that you are interested in trying to address. I have a feeling there's probably you guys sharing things in common with each other, but maybe just type in the kinds of things that you think you might consider using self-hypnosis for. Yeah, Maureen asked about nightmares. Nightmares are definitely, I, you could definitely work with them in general, like we've been doing that. It's worth playing with to kind of boost your sense of sleep confidence, or whatever it may be. But I have to say, I think that that is probably better for like a guided hypnosis session, because since they happen in a deeper state, essentially of trance, that that you probably need to address them from that also a deeper state. So, okay, tooth grinding, sleep, snacking habits, anxiety, uh, negative thoughts and self-doubts, sense of worthiness and self-trust, procrastination, fear of heights, falling, chronic pain, managing pain. Yeah. So, what I think would be really neat is if could have a try, and as many people could participate as able, to write a positive suggestion for like snacking habits, um, or uh, sleep. Like, I mean, I'll give a suggestion with like sleep. Like sleep might be, um, I drift off easily at night as soon as I feel the soothing sensations of the sheets on my skin, something like that. But to do it at a time other than when you're going to bed, so that it's kind of like planting it so that it's going in the background. I have found that a lot of times sleep issues go with worry, that there's often worry patterns that can be addressed that then help with the sleep part, if it's things like worry that are getting in the way or kind of coming up as ruminations with sleep. So it could be, to do a phrase related to worry. um, it's just an idea. um, Trudy, for the grinding, might be something like, my jaw is, loose and relaxed. And, just continue to say that while you're in that deeper state. But maybe, there's another image that could, resonates with you. Like, um, it's just random, but like helium balloons are attached to my jaw and they just feel lighter. It feels lighter and lighter and lighter. And but imagery that works for you, that balloons may not be your perfect imagery. Snacking habits. Um, I think the challenging thing here is making it something that you feel your unconscious will say, "Yeah, I want that." Like, you know, trying to think of what it would be for the snacking habits, given that I we had a little conversation about this before related to this. I'm trying to personalize it. Um, I effortlessly let go of my desire for sugary snacks, something like that. Um, or something bigger, like I enjoy taking care of my body and expressing this through eating healthy food. That might be something. Um, let's see, procrastination, fear of heights, fear of falling. So with the procrastination, it might be something like, adding in a feeling like I feel excited about, finishing my project. or something like that, and then visualizing it being complete and you jumping up and down going, yes, yes, it's done, I did it, something like that. Um, Fear of heights could be, I feel secure regardless of where I'm standing. I feel safe and trust my body and, my legs to, hold me. Just kind of randomly associating here. Um, Chronic pain, what could be an interesting one with chronic pain, interesting just in terms of the possibilities for if you're going to invite imagery, is like if the pain is kind of uh, like if there's a lot of intensity to it, you can imagine a flame and turning down the flame. And you could have a phrase that goes with it, like, you know, the heat is uh, the heat. I'm lowering the heat in my body. Um, might I phrase that? Sometimes it can take a while to kind of fine tune what feels exactly right, and I'm kind of like trying to imagine what other people might like. But so just turning down the flame, the heat and my leg is feeling cooler and cooler, or something like that. Um, I'm filled with hope and confidence that I'm making noticeable changes in my mental and physical health goals. Or if you're having a hard time noticing them, like you're making them, but you're just not necessarily uh, feeling it all the time. Even that could be a saying like, I honor the even the small big changes, even the small changes related to um, my mental and physical health goals. Where you can actually just recognize and enjoy that you're making progress, even if it's teeny tiny progress, because sometimes it's kind of hard to know where we are, and when we're trying to work our way um, towards a goal. Increasing resiliency is, this again is kind of like finding your own um, terms that work well for you, but you know become, I'm trying to look at these other things that have your resilience. um, there's some really nice ones here, like I face challenges with courage and determination. That relates to resilience, but it has a certain kind of um, feeling to it. I'm the architect of my reality, creating it with intention and purpose. I'm a resilient soul, rising stronger with every obstacle overcome. That's pretty powerful. So I'm going to add even more ideas to the list that I'm going to put in the manual. I easily and peacefully return to sleep after awakening during the night. Yeah. And probably even shorten it and say something like sleep comes easily. Something like sleep comes easily, when I return to bed after waking, or something like that. I think the shorter we can make them, the better. I wash away my snack cravings with a glass of water. Yeah, that's great. You guys are getting it. You're starting to, I exhale the tightness in my lungs. That's beautiful. Yeah. So, so what I wanted to offer you for attending and for those who are listening on the replay is 20% off of hypnotherapy sessions with me if you book them within the next 2 weeks. So, what I'll do is I'll create a coupon code that you could use, And you could use it for one session, you could use it for 3 sessions, but you would just put them all, on the schedule. Um, and they could always be rescheduled. So that's kind of the way that you would basically buy the sessions in advance, knowing that you could reschedule. But talk to me or email me if you have any questions about that. But I just wanted to offer that to you. So that ends up being, I think, 130 instead of 150 for a 90-minute session. And I would love to be able to support you with whatever goals you're working with. And I'm also happy to answer questions or fine tune things related to the self hypnosis as well. So, this is quite a skill that I think that we can refine our abilities with it to um, to have it feel right for us, but I think, I don't know, I think this might not be as clear as I would like it to be, because kind of going through the what we call the induction, basically we went through those stages of catalepsy. I mean, amnesia, to use it broadly, I mean, it's sort of like being able to erase the numbers. Like you write a nine, you erase the nine, it's like nine is gone. Um, And so basically entering into this deeper state, kind of slowly and progressively, and then being able to stabilize that and add the phrases and then to emerge. So, any questions? Do you want to put any questions in the chat? I realize some people probably need to get going, but I'm happy to answer questions. And it's worthwhile for everybody if you have questions. I'm sure other people would also be interested. I know sometimes I have a hard time thinking of questions, and then other people come up with them, and I'm like, oh, yeah, me too. I want to know that too. So, okay. Yeah, so Christine, thank you. Practice as often as you would like. I think we get better and better at it. And, like anything else that we do for ourselves, the more that we can enjoy it, the more likely we're going to be, doing it regularly. But I would say, I mean, if I was really struggling with something, I might consider even doing it more than once a day. But once a day to try to address a certain issue that was kind of like a part of my life, and it's an ongoing kind of thing. I think that that could be really, really wonderful. And you can do it in like even 5 minutes. You don't It's nice if you can do a deeper, longer session where you can really get into that uh, kind of a kind of deeper, more stable level of light trance. But even something like 5 minutes, when you get better and better at this kind of thing, it's easier to drop in. And those of you who are meditators, there are a lot of similarities with meditation. There's some key differences as well, where we're in some ways cultivating kind of more control with the self hypnosis. There's kind of more actively trying to uh, support creating an experience, whereas with meditation, we're being more of an observer, a lot about acceptance and acknowledging what's happening. So let me see. Oh, Stephanie, thank you for writing that happened for you. You know, I think it's a kind of release when that happens. I think, like I was saying, trance is not really a fragile state. Like, yeah, sometimes we get into that place where we're really in that floaty kind of experience and then we're not, but it's a very flexible state. That's what it's like technically, we could get up and let the cat out, and not that I have cats on my mind, but get up and let the cat out and come back and keep doing it, and it's not a problem. I think that it's remarkable. There really is a lot of flexibility to be able to go in and out of these states. Yoga Nidra, I wish I knew more about Yoga Nidra. Um, I have not done it except for a few different couple guided sessions with recordings. Catherine, I think that how long the sessions last, it's up to you, but like 5 minutes to 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes would be a really substantial session, but I could see that, there might be times when I would do it that way. Yeah, you can use it for different issues. Thank you, Terry. Different issues, um, and just feel your way into it because sometimes I think what happens is that we kind of hone in on what feels really good to us. Like, yeah, it's really satisfying to work on that right now. But like different ones on different days, it's not too much. If you fall asleep, that sleep is definitely not the same thing as hypnosis. So if you do fall asleep, that's sleep. Um, but we do get into those states of kind of floatiness where it can feel very close to sleep. So that's definitely still trance when, you can drift into that place or sometimes kind of like be hovering right on the edge. And if you do fall asleep, not a problem. You got from it whatever you got up until that point. And I personally think that can be some of the most nourishing kind of sleep when you fall asleep in those situations. But there's certainly nothing lost. How long was our session? Gosh, I wish I'd kept track more closely. I think it was about 20 minutes. I lose track of time too sometimes when I'm in them, when I'm doing them. Yeah. Um, yeah, well, thank you. Thank you all for those questions, and I hope I got them all. I think I got everything. Yeah, and I'm happy to help you refine some of your suggestions there. So if you feel stuck and you'd like some ideas, then just send me an email, and I'm happy to work on them with you. But I'm going to finish up the manual, and I will um, send that out in an email with the replay. So so thank you all for your presence. I know some people had to jump off, and we've stayed a little long, and just thrilled to get to share this with you. And I hope that you benefit and feel really awesome for the rest of your day. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.